first time Naomi walked into the glittering hall, her heart nearly stopped. The chandeliers sparkled like frozen stars above her, and every table was adorned with silk linens and crystal glasses. But she didn't feel like she belonged. Her worn-out dress and frayed heels made her shrink into herself, an invisible ghost among the elegantly dressed guests. She had spent her life working tirelessly, balancing 2 jobs just to pay rent in her tiny Brooklyn apartment, never imagining a night like this would exist for her. The contrast was so sharp it almost hurt, and then, out of nowhere, he appeared. Julian Montgomery, a billionaire with a reputation that preceded him across Manhattan's elite circles, approached her with a calm authority that made heads turn. He was impeccably dressed, his tailored navy suit and crisp white shirt making him look untouchable, and yet, when he smiled at Naomi, there was a softness that made her want to shrink and smile back at the same time. He extended his hand and, without hesitation, invited her to join him at his sister's wedding. Naomi's mind raced. Why would someone like Julian, someone whose name was whispered in boardrooms and magazines, want to bring her to a place like this? Before she could form an answer, she was led through the grand doors into a world that seemed lifted from a magazine. The music swelled, couples danced, and the scent of roses mixed with the subtle aroma of gourmet cuisine. Naomi felt painfully aware of her humble background, but Julian's presence beside her acted like a shield. There was a quiet confidence in the way he introduced her to his sister Marissa and to the other guests. "This is Naomi," he said, "my guest." That simple acknowledgement made Naomi feel, for the first time in years, seen. If the evening had been a dream already, the real surprise came during the wedding toast. The groom, a tall man with slicked back hair named Carter, raised his glass and paused, looking around the room before. His gaze landed on Naomi. There was a flicker of amusement, and then something else, respect. Carter leaned in toward Julian and said, almost under his breath, "Is she your boss?" The room erupted in laughter at the unexpected question, but Naomi froze. The words carried a weight she hadn't anticipated. She wasn't a boss in the corporate sense. She was a survivor, a fighter, a woman who had clawed her way through life against every odd stacked against her. And yet, in that moment, someone had unknowingly acknowledged her strength in the most poetic way. Naomi's life hadn't been easy. She had grown up in a neighborhood where opportunities were rare and dreams were often dismissed. Her mother had worked multiple shifts as a nurse, and Naomi had followed her example, taking every part-time job she could find after school to help make ends meet. College had been a distant dream, one she almost gave up on when tuition bills piled up, but she persisted, sometimes skipping meals to afford textbooks. By the time she entered the workforce, she was a young woman with a heart full of hope and a spirit tempered by struggle. And now, standing in this lavish hall, she realized that her journey had brought her to a place she never imagined possible. Julian didn't just bring her to the wedding, he treated her with a quiet reverence that unsettled and delighted her all at once. He introduced her to his colleagues, friends, and family as if she were someone extraordinary. And in doing so, he reminded Naomi of a truth she had buried beneath years of exhaustion and self-doubt. Her worth wasn't determined by her past, her clothes, or her circumstances. Her worth was intrinsic. She had survived. She had fought. She had earned her place in the world simply by refusing to give up. As the night unfolded, Naomi watched Julian interact with his sister, the groom, and the guests. There was a sharp intelligence in him, a kindness in his gestures, but also a quiet loneliness in his eyes. When they spoke privately for a moment, he confessed that he admired people who built their lives from nothing, who faced hardships and refused to let those hardships define them. Naomi felt a lump in her throat. Here, in a world where she had always felt invisible, someone saw her story, her struggles, her strength, and it mattered. The dance floor became a stage for another revelation. Julian's sister had chosen a song that had been popular during Naomi's own high school days, a melody that made memories of her simpler, quieter life surface. Julian extended his hand, and without thinking, Naomi placed hers in his. As they swayed to the music, Naomi realized that this night was more than just a wedding. It was a turning point, a bridge between the life she had lived and the life she was beginning to imagine. And then came the moment that truly humbled her. Carter, the groom, who had earlier joked and whispered the word boss, approached Naomi with genuine curiosity and admiration. He asked her about her work, about her life, and how she had achieved so much despite the odds. Julian's playful glance told her that she could answer honestly, and so she shared her story. The long hours, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, and the small victories that had shaped her. Carter listened with a respect she had never experienced from someone outside her immediate circle. By the end of the conversation, he smiled and said, "Now I understand why Julian brought you here. You are truly remarkable." In that moment, Naomi felt a powerful mix of emotions, gratitude, disbelief, and pride. She thought of the nights she had spent worrying about bills, the moments she had doubted herself, and the people who had underestimated her. And yet, here she was standing in a room of wealth and prestige, recognized for her inner strength and resilience, not for her attire or social standing. Julian's decision to bring her wasn't about fashion or appearances. It was a recognition of who she was at her core. As the evening drew to a close, Naomi stood near the balcony, looking out at the city skyline twinkling like scattered diamonds. Julian joined her quietly, offering a gentle smile. They didn't need words. The silence was full of understanding. She had crossed into a world that had once seemed unreachable, not because of luck, but because she had never surrendered. Her life was still hers to shape, and now, for the first time, she could see the possibilities stretching far beyond what she had ever imagined. Before she left, Julian leaned in and whispered, "The world needs people like you." And for the first time in a long time, Naomi believed it. She believed in herself, in her journey, and in the quiet, relentless power of resilience. That night, she didn't just attend a wedding. She witnessed a turning point in her life, one that reminded her that kindness, recognition, and respect could arrive from the most unexpected places. If this story moved you even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like Naomi's reach more hearts and inspire more dreams. Comment below and let us know if you've ever had someone recognize your worth when you least expected it. It could change someone's life to hear your experience. As Naomi left the hall, she realized that life had a way of surprising those who dared to hope, who refused to quit, and who kept showing up for themselves despite the odds. And sometimes, those surprises arrive in the form of people who see the strength you carry inside, long before the world does. Naomi's story wasn't about wealth, fame, or luxury. It was about survival, dignity, and the quiet victories that define a life well lived. That night, among the glittering lights, the laughter, and the music, she understood something profound. True recognition isn't about who you know or what you have. It's about who you are, and the courage it takes to never let the world dim your light.